Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday. Seems like lately we've had some dreary Mondays that we've
It does seem that way, but
had to go live, but that's all right.
we kind of need the rain. It's pretty dry, so.
But it's July, so yay. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We are here every other Monday. Usually.
We try.
We try for that every other Monday around noontime with different pest-related topics. And this week we're talking about commercial pest control, which hopefully there'll be a lot of questions that people have. But we have some prepared as well, so feel free to chime in. And also, we really appreciate it if you like, share, and comment. You can also get notifications when we go live. If you go ahead and hit, geez, I can't even think of the button.
Is it follow?
The follow button. Thank you, Mike.
You're the marketing person. You're supposed to know this stuff.
You're my backup. So yeah. If you
okay, so I'll interview you and ask you pest questions.
Sure. I'm not sure how many I can answer, but I can try. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to start ahead with some questions, but feel free to chime in.
What are we talking about today?
So again, commercial pest control.
Oh,
So
okay.
all kinds of things in relation to that. I thought it would make sense to kind of go ahead and just, if you don't mind, describing what the difference between a commercial pest control services to residential, just like a broad overview.
Yeah, sure.
I think generally people might have an idea, but...
You know, the concept behind it is still very similar. It's still an IPM program where we're looking for conducive conditions, things within a facility that make it attractive for pests. Probably the biggest thing with difference commercially and residentially really is the service frequency. Mm-hmm. Just the amount of material that's coming and going, the amount of people and all those things that are in and out of, commercial businesses, whether it's a store or a restaurant, food distribution, production facility, whatever. They just have so much more quantity and amount of stuff being shipped in and out. People, employees, customers that are just coming and going continuously, doors that are open and closing, constantly compared to what you have in your typical residence. That there's just a lot more pressure. So usually, the focus really is still the same. We're trying to prevent them from having problems, monitoring it to make sure you don't have problems, looking for conditions that make it attractive for pest, and working with clients on resolving those types of issues. It just requires more detail to some degree, a lot more record keeping, depending on the type of facility, and just a more frequent level of service. We have commercial accounts that we have people at every day of the week, where residentially it's more, usually like quarterly basis. So.
Now, why are some of those things you mentioned things that might promote pest activity, like doors opening more frequently, product coming in and out?
Well, with product coming in, there's always the potential for product that has infestation in it being introduced into a restaurant, into a business. There's just, the doors you have. In a lot of places, you have large overhead doors that are open and closed frequently. They're harder to seal. And pests are attracted by sources of warmth, the smells from food production plants, restaurants, things like that. The warmth that those buildings give off, particularly for rodents when you get towards the fall and the winter. Their sense of those temperature changes is really, really keen, as well as the smell. So it just makes those types of places that much more attractive for them than your typical residence is going to be. As far as people, there's always the possibility of people bringing stuff into a business with them that may have pests in things that are being brought in. People as well as deliveries.
So what types of things like that are most commonly overlooked by a business, and they don't even see that as a pest problem?
Things that are commonly overlooked by a business they don't see as a pest problem. That's kind of a broad question. That's a little hard to come up with a short answer to, I think.
Maybe
I guess things like having a couple of flies in your kitchen, something like that, that people think of just really kind of as being a nuisance, that really can be a problem. So, there's just a variety of things like that. I think maybe people think in a place that handles a lot of food, that it's just common to have a few flies in the summertime, and to some degree it is, but a couple flies in your house are a nuisance. A couple of flies in your food production plant is a whole different story with the potential of contaminating food product. So.
All right. So let's say I have a brand new building that seems like an instance where I wouldn't need pest control, but why would I?
Well, again, if we're talking a business, you've got so much food product in a lot of businesses, so it's just more attractive for them, and you can't make a building so tight that a pest can't get in. If you take something the size of a mouse can go through a hole. If you can take a number 2 pencil and slide it under the gap in a door, a mouse can go through a hole that size. So, door sweeps that don't fit properly, if you have loading docks, receiving docks, those types of things with the big overhead doors, those types of doors are really difficult to seal compared to putting a door sweep on your house. So, even with a new building, there is just a lot of little cracks and crevices and gaps around doors and utility entrances and things like that a lot of times just don't get sealed really tightly. No disrespect to contractors, but they're not pest management professionals, so they're not really thinking about when they're building a structure that little gap, you're putting a 1-inch pipe through a wall, but everything has to be able to get lined up to connect on the inside and outside. So a lot of times they're putting a hole that's maybe, 1.5 inches, 2 inches to put a 1-inch conduit or pipe through, and it leaves a big gap around it. A lot of those don't get sealed. They don't put escutcheon plates over them to cover the holes, things like that. And there's just a lot of potential areas where insects and rodents can get inside, even though it is new construction. And in some cases with new construction too, because the building is all open during that construction phase, you may have pests that got in before the building was ever closed up, before they ever put the doors and windows in. So before you open your business in that new building, the pest may have already moved in.
Right. Now, I think maybe also the perception is with new construction is that it's very clean, and that cleanliness is what, or the lack of might be, in an older building might be what attracts the pests. And I assume in some instances that might be true, but where would that also be maybe false? Is it just the gaps and crevices, or are there other things that can attract?
Well, certainly cleanliness is very important. Insects, rodents, people. There's 3 basic things that you really need to survive. You need food, shelter, and water. So the more of those resources that are available, if you do get pests that are introduced or that are what's considered to be volunteers that just naturally, foraging, looking for opportunities to find food and harborage that come in, the more of those types of things that you have, the quicker a population will become established and build. And, it's really difficult to eliminate all of those things at times, particularly in large facilities. There's just always going to be those resources available for pests. The best you do is, you try to manage those as well as you can and manage your cleaning and your trash disposal and things like that. But, this building, it's an office building, but we have 60 feet from our back door where we do have a loading dock that really isn't used, but We have a dumpster that sits there and gets emptied once a week that has a lot of food debris and things in it that are just attractive for pests. So it just increases the pressure that you would have compared to what you have in a residential setting.
Right, right. And so, how would having commercial pest control help my business's reputation? Because I think, a lot of folks are concerned with the perception of seeing a pest control person at their business and are more worried about that than actually keeping the pests away.
I think there are some people that have that perception. I think that perception has changed a lot in the years that I've been doing this. I think it used to be that if they saw the pest control truck parked by a business that, oh my God, they've got to have some sort of a pest problem. When the reality is that most businesses are actually doing this they're proactive. It's a preventive basis. They have somebody coming on a regular basis, not just to control the pest, but to document and work with them and help them identify the conducive conditions, things that need to be cleaned, areas that need to be sealed, things of that nature. And I think most people have a different perception of that now, and they understand that for a business, they're really doing is they're trying to be proactive, make sure they don't have a pest issue. If something does come in, having it identified and resolved in a timely manner, and just being ahead of the curve, so to speak, with those types of things to make sure that they don't have a problem. And realistically, you're really doing is you're protecting your brand by doing that. And I think most people really understand that. I think most people really have a concept that, these businesses are doing this to make sure they don't have a problem. And protecting, it's about protecting your brand. It's about protecting your customers and making sure that you don't have pest infestation that maybe can causing contamination to food product and things of that nature.
So Peyton Hart has joined us. Hello, Mr. Peyton. He asks, how does commercial pest control differ from residential's? So yes, we answered that in the very beginning, but
I think Peyton joined us a little bit late.
Okay.
He missed that first minute or two.
We can just do a brief summary of what that
Well, again, like we talked about, it's really a lot of it is just because of the pressure that you have on a commercial building. There is just a greater potential for having pest issues. So really, while the principles, the concepts are really the same, whether it's residential or commercial, in most cases, a commercial facility, a business needs service on a much more frequent basis than a residential, typical single-family home would require.
And so we kind of discussed this a little bit, but maybe go into again how, and I think one of the objections business owners provide is my business is really clean. I don't need pest control.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's really important. Certainly, cleanliness is certainly very important. And again, if you have something that gets introduced in a delivery or that comes in with a customer or an employee or things like that, the cleaner it is, the harder it is going to be for those pests to really multiply and survive well and thrive. But what you're really looking to do is you need to be able to not just know that you don't have a pest issue, but being ahead of the curve, being proactive, looking for those conditions that may be hidden, that aren't that obvious, or those places where things can get in that most people, if you're not trained to look for, aren't even going to see. And for a lot of businesses too, it's just very important to have documentation to show that this is being done on a regular basis. And that you are being proactive about it and making sure that there isn't a problem.
Right. So let's say I do have an audited facility. What is it that Modern can do to help?
Well, again, by hiring somebody that is trained and licensed and understands the biology and the habitat and all those different things regarding all the various pests that you may encounter, we can identify areas that are conducive for pests. We can certainly identify the pests that are there and take action to resolve any pest issues when they first occur, so that it's, you're not waiting until you really have a substantial infestation. Different auditing companies require, and it's becoming a little bit more consolidated where the standards are fairly even between different auditing companies, but each auditing company has kind of its own requirements, specific things that they look for. And, we're just really familiar with those and know what their expectations are, what their requirements are. There's a great deal of documentation required for an audited facility. And again, most of what they're really looking for is, obviously, they want to make sure that if you have an infestation that starts to occur, that it's being resolved in a timely manner. But they're really looking for good supporting documentation to show that you are being proactive and that your facility is being inspected and looked at carefully to make sure that there isn't a pest issue there that people aren't aware of. And again, it depends with auditing companies, but for most auditing companies, pest management is just one portion of their overall audit of a facility. Mm-hmm. But it's usually, in most cases, it's usually about 20% of your overall score. And having a good score on an audit is really important for businesses. You're selling, you're producing product that you're selling to distributors of various things that's going out to market, that people are going to consume. It's really important for them to have acceptable scores for the businesses that they sell product to.
Right.
And having a good score on that pest management program is really important. We very, very frequently get perfect scores on audited facility locations on the pest management program, which helps them a lot with their overall scores.
Right.
When that's 20% of your overall score, that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, that's a significant impact. So.
Yes.
Awesome. So Don Hart joins us. Hey, Don. He asked, if I rent my business space, who is usually responsible for the pest control? Good question. Thanks, Don.
I would say you would need to look at your lease paperwork carefully, Don, to find out for sure. But in most cases, for a business, usually it is the business that is responsible for that. There are some situations in certain settings where you may have the business that owns the business, the company that owns the business may provide the pest management for the entire building, but usually it is the business that is occupying the space that's responsible.
That's good to know, and good advice to look at the lease to verify that too, because that could be
and if it can be, and it's just so I would say if you have a question regarding whether that's your responsibility or not, look at your lease, and if you're still not sure, talk to whoever your management company is, something of that nature. But as a rule, what I've found is that in most cases the business is responsible for the pest management.
All right. So, and this is a question I think we get frequently is, will my customers see your service professionals in my business? I know, again, that perception is still sometimes a concern.
Again, that's situational. We will do our best to accommodate our clients' needs and requests. We're not going to go do a service inspection of a restaurant at, noontime, or 5 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock on Friday, Saturday evening or something like that. So we try to accommodate those needs for our clients. But then there are other businesses that want people to see you there. They want them, because they want them to know that they are doing this on a proactive basis, and we have somebody coming in and inspecting to make sure we don't have a pest issue, and they're okay with having their clients see that because they see it as, they understand that what they're doing is really, they're having this done to protect that consumer.
Right.
So they're not worried about having the consumers see that, and it's not It's not the old days of us walking in with a compressed air sprayer and spraying every crack in the building. It's typically the pest management professional walking in with his little handheld computer and a flashlight, and certainly some minimal amount of tools to be able to to address any pest issues that he may find. But in most cases, it's about inspecting.
Yeah.
So the perception of that has changed a lot, like I say, in the decades that I've been doing this. So
good. And so, if my business doesn't deal with food, do we still need pest control?
yeah, absolutely. Again, you have a lot of people coming and going. You still have a lot of things being delivered. Certainly, food makes it more attractive for pests and all the odors associated with the foods and things like that. But any business can get pests, and you just have, typically you just have larger buildings, a lot more pressure, and there's definitely a lot of conducive conditions in any building, regardless of the age. I should say regardless of the age. Mm-hmm. Get that right.
Mm-hmm. And so, are there organic pest control options for my business?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
We do provide organic services for businesses, whether that's by their choice, or there are certainly some businesses that are organic certified that are producing organic product that are required to follow guidelines established by the USDA National Organics Program, and we can provide you a service that will be compliant with those.
Right. Awesome. And here's another question that we have here is, what if my commercial building doesn't have any tenants? Do we still need pest control?
A commercial building with no tenants. So just so I understand the question, are we talking a building that is just vacant space in a building?
Right.
I would say absolutely. You still need a pest management program. That building that is unoccupied, you could have a pest problem start to develop and escalate fairly quickly. There's nobody there to identify it. So you have an unoccupied space. There's still a lot of harborage, a lot of opportunities for things to get in without people even being aware that they're there. So I would absolutely advocate that you should be having a service done, even while space is vacant. Yes.
Right. It probably makes it difficult to get tenants then if you discover down the road.
If you've got a space that you're trying to rent and you're showing it to prospective business that's thinking about moving in there, and they walk in and see a mouse run across the floor, you may have a hard time finding somebody that wants to rent that space. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Peyton joins us again. Hello, Peyton. Asking, can you provide services after my regular hours so my customers don't have to see it?
We do our best, again, as I said, to accommodate those needs. We do a lot of businesses that, because of the nature of their business, their hours, that are sensitive to those things. And we have team members that start work very early in the mornings. A lot of restaurants, places that are open, early morning for breakfast, things like that, that we will have people there at, 4 or 5 in the morning, things like that, before you open, if that's what your needs are. Yes.
Awesome. Great. Well, I think that wraps up all my questions, unless Peyton, Don, or anyone else has a few more questions for us. Feel free to chime in, and I will just wrap up with a few more points again, and just a reminder to go ahead, visit our website if you have other questions or want to go ahead and contact us for more information. That would be at modernpest.com. And you can go ahead and follow us. When you click the follow button, click like, share, and Don says we rock. Thanks, Don. You rock too.
Thanks for being there, Don.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, have a great day, everyone. Thank you.